So Conor McDonald joins me on the show today. Conor, first of all, I believe happy birthday is in order. You turned 29 yesterday, is that right?
No, July.
Oh, it's July. Oh, your Wikipedia must be wrong then.
Oh, is it? Well, I'll take it
Yeah,
because I'm a little bit younger than I actually am. 22nd of July, yeah, 22nd July. So it's yeah, I've already turned the 29, so I'm well on the road now to the big 3-0.
that shows me for not doing my research now and just using Wikipedia as a
No, I'll
fact. I
take
don't
it
know.
though. I'll take it. A couple of months younger there on Wikipedia, obviously.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you, like, you're 12 years now on the road, into county hurling, and obviously, as you said, you're only 29. But is it hard to believe that you've 12 seasons put behind you now at that level?
Yeah, it is. It's kind of gone in a flash as well. You're probably 2013. I made my debut at hurled minor under 21, 21 and senior within 2 weeks, and it was just a whirlwind, and it probably hasn't stopped since then. We kind of had a good run with under 21s, and it was just a really quick introduction to adult hurling, and in particular Wexford. So yeah, 12 seasons has been there's been lots of ups and downs, but it's been great now, I have to say. It has been great, and look at sure it just goes by so quick, and I'm probably at a stage now where you're trying to explain that to younger lads that are coming into the panel, and try help out young lads where that I was in their position at one stage, and the older lads would have helped me an awful lot. So look, I suppose I'm in that position now, but yeah, it's definitely it's gone like a shot. But well, now there's times, all right, that you're delighted a year is over when it might have went as well. But yeah, look, you're never wishing away the games or the years. So it's been enjoyable now.
Mm. And talk to me about I think you had a back injury this year that would have kept you out for most of the league. Um, what was the issue there? And like, it was obviously a fairly long rehab process. I think you did manage to avoid surgery, but just talk us through the injury that you had this year.
Yeah, so it was actually around this time last year. We just after we played a county final. I was getting back like some pains in my back. I've never tore a muscle or anything like that. Touch wood. Never really had any kind of serious injury, I suppose, which I've been very lucky with. And then this was niggling at me and niggling at me. We had 12 weeks, I think, 12 or 13 weeks before we went back then to a Leinster Championship, which probably didn't help us. But I thought probably would have given me a bit of time to nurse this a little bit, and it just kept getting progressively worse. I was getting sciatic pain kind of down my back of my leg into the back of my knee and stuff. So look at your. I suppose initially you're kind of thinking, right, maybe it's not that serious. Maybe it's just we played 8 weeks on the bounce. Maybe the body is just tired and sore in general. But it just progressively got worse, and it got to a stage where I was struggling to even lift up my daughter there out of bed or out of the cot or whatever it was. So, um, I knew action needed to be taken into my own hands then. So, look at your the long and short of it was that was it was my pelvis was rubbing off the last vertebrae in my back, really, as far as I've been told anyway, and it was pinching nerve then, and there was nerve damage there. So yeah, it was a hard road, to be honest with you. I didn't probably feel like I was going to get back at all for the large part of the winter, which was it was I nearly had parted ways in my head with 2024. And then just between getting treatment and stuff, I was progressively getting a little bit better. Day in, day out, and yeah, it's I suppose now it's just a part of my everyday to try stay limber and stay on the move,
Mm.
because within a couple of days you're struggling if you're not doing anything. So yeah, it's just going to be the way it is now. Unfortunately, but look, at thankfully I didn't have to get surgery. Done a lot of rehab to try get back right, and sure, look at probably was in some ways grand, because you came back a little bit fresher and eager then once you got a sniff of playing. And yeah, so yeah, it was a long road. Missed a lot of the league. You'd be crying out for a break for, as you said, 12 years. But when you're injured like that, as I said, it was foreign to me. I've never had an injury that took as long to get back. A couple of broken bones and that, but you didn't know what the solution was either, which was quite difficult. Difficult for my head, really. I'm sure probably wasn't the nicest person to be around for large parts of that either. But yeah, look, at it was a bit of a whirlwind, but sure, look, it worked out in the end.
I hadn't realized it was that serious. So it must be scary in a way as well when you don't even have the ability to lift up your daughter, and then when you're actually looking at potentially going to miss the entire 2024 year? Like, what was the lowest point during that whole thing? Because it's different to say if you break your leg or something, kind of straight away you have an end point nearly when you can get back onto the pitch. When it's something like this, it's just a lot harder that you don't actually know, and it probably wasn't improving a lot as well until you finally did find a solution maybe to do the proper rehab to get it right. But what was the low point?
It was plenty low points, to be honest. I remember going up on the 9th of December to Vincent's private, and it was injections and stuff like that. And then after that, it was kind of, you're probably still thinking like, geez, you're getting a bit of hope there, and you're like, right, after a week, this should kick in. But there was also the talk of maybe it not kicking in, and I was like, right, okay, we should look at it fine. Then you're pretending to yourself, maybe then just before Christmas, I might get back here now, get a couple of weeks into me, and I'll get some league time. I
Mm.
suppose you're always thinking of when you can get back, and that's where I realize more than ever that you want to be part of the panel and be part of the bigger days and stuff like that. Um, so once that didn't really kick in, and I wasn't getting that much relief, I probably felt like I was completely out of options altogether, and I was looking down the surgery route probably, and I was trying to put that off and then try find out all the other solutions to try sort it out. So then there was another round of injections and stuff like that. So the pain down my leg went, but I still had back pain, and then it was right down my lower back. And yeah, so like they were just mini kind of low points, but I suppose then you just have to try change it and try trust the lads that are around you. Trust Dermot O'Keefe was going through the same thing. He actually went and got surgery. He was probably happened to him before me,
Okay.
a couple of weeks or months before during the championship, and he kind of got through it. And then he was a little bit further down the road than what I was, so I was able to learn off Dio as well a good bit. We're kind of trading notes there for a long time, and look, sure, thankfully, like every symptom I had, he had, and it was just that I was able to just kind of release the pain that bit quicker or that bit earlier just through rehab and stuff. I suppose everyone's just completely different, and finally it came through. The injections kind of worked a little bit, and as I said, if I'm not moving, I'm feeling it straight away within a couple of days. So it's just going to be a day by day basis now until the end of my career, probably for the rest of my life.
Right, and that's just one of the things I guess when you're playing sport at that level that I know I'm sure a lot of lads that you play with now they'll be carrying different bits and pieces, especially hip injuries and different things like that. But it's just something you have to keep on top of now that you have to keep tipping away at the rehab, and then you're looking at down the line that it's going to be something that may affect you for the rest of your life.
Yeah, like, and I would have been always, you're looking at older lads and you're looking at lads when you're younger, and they're doing all this prehab and all this kind of crack, and I would have
Mm.
always been like, right, get out in the field, get a few shots off and stuff like that, and mess around with a ball there or whatever the case is, and like just going from that to the complete opposite, going up with your bands there half an hour earlier before you'd normally be there, and it's just crazy. But sure, look at it's it's what has to be done, and I quickly realised that I was getting a lot of benefit from it going out to sessions, and able to complete sessions and stuff like that. That it was just a necessity to have to do this rehab and do the prehab and all the kind of stuff to get you firing. To get you limbered up to get dogged maybe for an hour and a half on a training field, um, but yeah, look at it, it's just part of your career, I suppose. When you pick up a knock or pick up an injury, there's lads who've done crew sheets and stuff like that, and they're doing it, since they're very young. It was just all very foreign to me, and like that's what kind of frustrated me the most. Out of all that, because I didn't really know the process of how to deal with stuff in your head with long injuries or stuff that you don't
Mm.
know the answer to and stuff like that. So, it was just difficult. But sure, you come to realize then that once the stuff is working, the rehab is working, that you're best off keep doing it, like, and just get your body right.
Yeah, I can kind of resonate with that. I had surgery on my hamstrings there a couple of weeks ago, a month ago, and
Mm.
I'm probably in the process that you don't really have an end goal in terms of like when you're going to get back to the pitch, but you're kind of focusing on the little small wins every couple of weeks. Like when you're talking there about your mindset and stuff like that, was there anything you learned from the whole process of just getting through the injury, how you're thinking and different things? Like was there any stuff that you would have picked up that sort of helped you get through that long term injury?
Yeah, well, like, I suppose again around this time last year, I had in my head to try to get back for the tried to get back. I 12 or 13 weeks to get back to the Leinster Championship, and I was actually probably the worst I ever was. Was that week, and I don't know why I even played the game. To be honest, I was probably just too stubborn to say I
Mm.
was gone. We were missing a couple of lads. Lads were going to Australia and stuff like that, and it was just I don't know. You're just too proud to say that I'm actually broke up here, like So that was that. But I quickly realised that you know you need to just get hurling, get everything out of the back of your head. I remember talking to say Lee Chen and a few lads there. I remember ringing him one day and he said to me like you need to stop thinking about hurling like and think about just actually getting yourself right. As I said earlier,
Mm.
spoke to Melissa, my partner, on a couple of occasions during that time, and she, like they're talking to people on the street. When are you back training or he's back pre-season, and the kind of usual crack, and you're just so far removed from that because you're in so much pain. That I quickly realised then it's actually about being able to walk down the stairs properly or being able to, as I said,
Mm.
lift up my daughter or whatever. They're the wins, like then they were the kind of positive things that you want to get right before you think about putting on your boots or your helmet again. And once I got to that stage, obviously, like whether we like it or not, even in the off season, hurling is such a huge part of your life, and your every decision you make for your lifestyle decisions, you always have a ticking in the back of your head, and it's getting more and more that way. With the demands, and yeah, like that was just the biggest thing I learned was park it and really park it, especially when you've something serious going on, because probably did affect all aspects of my life, whether it was work, whether it was relationships at home and stuff like that. You're just constantly like to one side keeled over, or
Mm.
then you're fine, and it's affecting your mood. And once you pack away something and just focus on getting your body right, you know it worked for me because I was able to get back, thankfully. But that was one thing I definitely learned, was to just really park something, and then you revisit if the body gets right. So that was that. Yeah.
Mm. And the feeling then, to get back onto the pitch and to be able to play the championship with Wexford, it must have been not bonus territory, but it almost feels like that a little bit when you weren't sure if you were going to make it back. What was it like just to get out back hurling during the summer?
Yeah, so the last game against, so we played Waterford in the league, and we bet Waterford down in Waterford, and it was kind of the first time where we were like, right, we're kind of moving all right here now, and I was like, geez, I'm not part of this. Like, what's going on? And you feel
Yeah.
like your rehab is ramping up. You're back. I was literally on the pitch that week, and we Cork the following week. So I remember just going to Keith saying like, I'm all right, I'm good, I'm ready to rock, and he was like, no, you're not. So anyway, I convinced him that it was somewhat all right to take part in game scenarios, and with the whole rehab kind of side of things, you have to get so much done before you're onto the pitch and you're involved in contact
Mm.
and all that. So I pulled the wool over a few lads' eyes that week, maybe to try to get into a panel, but I quickly realised that you're off the pace. Come on for, I think it was 20 minutes, and was off the pace completely, just in that frantic kind of match pace. The last game before the championship, Cork were absolutely flying. Um, and yeah, so I knew I had a bit of work to do to get back up to match pace. You think you're fine running on the side of a pitch there, and you feel okay, but when your lads hanging out with you there and you're trying to burst left, right, and centre,
Yeah.
it's a different ball game altogether.
And you have a short turnaround then to championship. You don't have what you would have had a few years earlier, where you had a nice gap where you could get a block of work done. All of a sudden, you're playing championship in what, like mid-April or something like that. So, what was it like? Were you working hard? You probably have to mind your load a bit as well in between, and you don't want to overdo things. So, what was your training like during that period to get back up to full fitness for the championship?
Yeah, so like I probably even off season, like I probably for years didn't manage my load correctly. I'd be off, I might play a bit of soccer. I'd be back in the boxing club where I used to always go back to, and there's no break, or that kind of
Mm.
way. You're always trying to do a few bits here and there. Just I in general just love sports, so any opportunity you get, whether it's golf or anything, you try to get out and play and whatever. But it might not always be the best thing for you. So yeah, and that was another learning for me. Um, you know, I came home from that Cork game, and I was like, right, okay, I'm after starting my good bank of tough work here now, so I have another 3 or 4 weeks before the Dublin game. It probably came a little bit too soon, for me to maybe start that game, or try to get in, or make an impression there. long enough to get in for the starting team that day. But yeah, like it was a serious case of managing my load, even though I was trying to just get in the picture all the time for
Mm.
championship. Yeah, look, the lads had that to sit down with me there after a while. They were kind of just saying, "Listen, you want to go back to where you were?" So it was that kind of threat all the time. So you're best off listening to the lads and their expertise that they have.
And just to touch on the year, like you had some really good results in Leinster, especially, and then Rankin close. The game against Clare, I mean, like you can probably take no solace in the fact that they went on to win the All Ireland, but you would have been, you had a slow start that day. You had the red card as well, which most people would have said was unlucky. How do you look back on that game now and on the season? Because ultimately, it was an early exit, but at the same time, things went a different way. You would have fancied your chances of winning that game.
Yeah, like we probably, yeah. I suppose the year always completely up and down. We were beaten up in Antrim, which like we like it was a bit of a shock, I suppose. They
Mm.
were definitely the better side that day, and they really showed them a big fight that day. We felt like we underperformed. We weren't happy with that, so I suppose we were trying to just get the consistency then in the remainder of the games, which I felt we did. We'd Kilkenny, we'd Laois then in a prelim, and we'd Galway then as well, sure. It was kind of starting to come together with Carlo as well. We're starting to string a few performances and hitting KPIs and stuff like that a little bit better than what we had been doing, or a little bit more consistently anyway. So yeah, like look at sure we went down to Thurles. We're beaten by Clare. I kind of don't really take anything from it that they went and won the All Ireland. I want no one to win an All Ireland, none of us. But
Yeah.
but yeah, look at sure and again they just showed, I suppose, you know their ambitions and everything that they wanted to do was on another level this year, and couldn't be stopped. And look at phenomenal side, unbelievable players, and yeah, obviously not nice to be on the receiving end of a beating in a quarter final. Thurles were heading home from Thurles again against Clare with our hands in our head, but look at these things happen. Just I suppose for us it was just the consistency really. A lot of things could have happened differently. Had we maybe been a little bit more consistent against Dublin in the first round, maybe, or Antrim, we could end up in a Leinster final and would have been nowhere near Thurles. So, yeah. So that's really it's the way hurling has gone. I think there's so many teams now. If you're on and off day, Carlo drew Kilkenny. It just Leinster in general, if you're on an off day, you're going to struggle big time. And I think as an individual as well, if you're on an off vein of form, or even off day, you're going to be in trouble. You won't be long getting whipped off either, I'd say. So
Mm.
yeah, it's just so fickle now. Hurling the way it's gone, and a lot of people wouldn't have had Clare. It's even pushing Limerick, and then Limerick are beaten, and it's just the way it's going at the minute, which is great for the neutral, but not great when you're leaving Thurles there after being beaten in the quarter final.
Mm. Does it take you long individually just to get over a defeat like that? I know sometimes it can linger and you can be a long time thinking about the game and thinking about what ifs and that kind of thing. For you personally, are you able to move on quickly, or are you thinking about what ifs and reflecting on the year? What way do you process when the season ends like that?
Probably at the early stage of my career, it probably would have been a lot worse. I probably would have dwelled on stuff a bit more than what I do now. I suppose just with Jude coming along, my daughter, you just see an awful lot more to life. Like it means the absolute world to you. To obviously represent the county, and you put in so much in the background, and to try take to the field, never mind perform and win, and it's what you love doing. So it's obviously devastating to be cut short. No one wants to be cut short. Everyone wants to go and climb the steps of the Hogan stand. Everyone wants that every single year. So it is devastating. It's disappointing when you don't perform. They're the big ones. That's if you perform and you're beaten, you can kind of have some sort of solace. We had a red card that day, kind of changed the game fairly quick. It's not an excuse, of course, but it does have a massive impact on it. So look, it depends on the manner of the defeat. And yeah, it's just everyday life then comes at you hard and fast the Monday morning. Regardless, so you just have to shake yourself down. And I suppose the other side of it too, like we've really really good group of lads in our club. That you just throw yourself back in. We've a good kind of age profile of lads that are really good pals as well. Around the place, so it's not long that they're in on the Tuesday night, maybe or Wednesday night, saying when are you back in. But they're more kind of telling you that to get back in, to get in around it, and help you get over it, I suppose, rather than get you on the field. So yeah, it's definitely a lot better than what it was at the beginning of my career for those reasons.
Mm. I just want to, you touched on earlier about like your whirlwind start to your Wexford career. I just want to go into that a little bit. So you would have played like 3 years minor with Wexford, and then 4 years under 21, and then, as you said, you were still minor when you made your senior debut. So what was it like just being in the middle of all that? Were you taking everything in your stride? Did you realize at the time, like, this is mental, all the different levels that I'm playing at and all the big games I'm getting to play in? What was it like to experience?
Yeah, like sure, it was just crazy. I remember. So we were beaten in minor. We were kind of, I suppose, it was a shock defeat. We probably would have felt we had a great team. Uh, for our minor team, we would have had Kevin Foley, Connor Devitt, Liam Ryan, Simon Donoghue. These are a good crop of lads there. Paddy Foley, these lads, and we'd beaten Kilkenny in the first round. We were Leinster semi final, and we were caught on the hop basically by Leash, and we're like they really kind of came with a serious game plan that day, bet us, and we were kind of stunned. So again, that was a quick turnaround. Then I think the under 21s had won their semi final. I'd never trained with them, and then kind of was asked to go in and train a match maybe 2 weeks before their Leinster final. Went in, played, got on all right, and then just kind of you're hearing murmurs around the place. So you might get in on the panel, but like I didn't realize it was going to start. So started and then played all right in the Leicester final. Obviously, it was our first big win as a county. For quite some time. It was in Wexford Park against Kilkenny. Kind of dramatic finish with a goal and all that kind of crack. So it was a doubt in itself. 2013 summer in itself was just crazy. I sat my leaving cert, and it was just nuts. Like, and then so that was on a Wednesday, and on the Thursday I got a phone call from Liam Dunn. I thought it was a prank call, and I was like, "Oh yeah, grand, whatever. Can you come in training Thursday night?" And then I was doing summer camps at the time, uh, and head man in the summer camps, the head coach came down and he said, "What are you doing?" Like, Liam runs after being ringing, after ringing me, Kevin Kennedy from Owlert. So I said, I can't believe that. Like, so anyway, rang him back and he just said, "Come in." And they played a game then. They played a game that Thursday evening, and I end up just getting in on that. But I suppose, again, you're young there, you're straight in, you're hurling Leinster final, then you're hurling a game 15 on 15 in Wexford Park. You're able to kind of do it. Like, you're 17, you're able to go hurl another, 50-minute match or whatever. So probably didn't have time to process it, is probably the answer.
Mm.
And it just rolled one after the other. Got a game that Saturday then against Clare, who actually went on to win the All Ireland, and that was in Thurles as
Oh.
well. So yeah, that was just hectic. And then it kind of rolled into 2014. We had a run there. We got to an All Ireland under 21. We had kind of our first kind of breakthrough. We beat Clare then in 2014 in the senior championship. That was kind of my first full year with the seniors. And it just snowballed really. That snowballed then for a couple of years, and then I suppose then you're leaving under 21, and your sole focus is your senior club team or your adult club team, and your senior hurling with Wexford. So it just probably hadn't got time to process it all. When I look back on it now, I can think, fucking hell, that was crazy. There was a bit mental. How did I even do it? But yeah, it was just, yeah, I suppose you take it into your stride and just roll with the punches.
Mm. It's funny the amount of stories you hear lads talking about. I've definitely heard a few county players talking about they thought it was a prank call when they were called into to certain setups. Like, it must have just been a thing that stage, lads be, especially when you're like, you were after winning the Leinster under 21, so you're out celebrating and you just presume lads are taking a piss here, and you just get into a room and ring Connor, and
Yeah,
yeah, he got called in. But
100%.
I've definitely heard a few of them.
Yeah, because like as I say, I remember summer was unbelievable as well, and say the next day, like I wouldn't have been out with the older lads. Say they were probably on a day two drinking, like, and
Mm.
I was back in doing the summer camps or whatever, poking them all around. Sure, it was chap, like, 17, and you're just don't even think about those kind of things, and then I thought I was probably lucky enough to even get in on the 21 panel. Like, I didn't even think it was possible to go hurl senior then. So, yeah. So when I seen Kevin running down the bank there and down in Buffer's Alley, I'll never forget it. And he was like, "What are you doing?" Like, I think he was doing the water for Liam Dunn at that time. And yeah, I had to go up and give him a ring back, and obviously accept the invite into training that evening.
Yeah. I was reading an interview you did. It would have been maybe a couple of years ago, but you were talking about the mentality you had at that age going into the team, and you would have had no fear in it. And your mentality was, I want to take someone's jersey here, even at 17, 18. Um, where did that come from, do you think? Or was it just the fact that, when you go through your career a little bit and maybe players talk about you develop a bit more of a fear or realism about playing and that kind of thing. But when you're young and fearless, you just go in and you want to be taking a jersey here. What was your mindset like when you're coming into that camp? Like, was it that straightforward that you were like, I'm gonna take someone's jersey here. I'm going to get on this team.
Yeah, like I always felt like if I'm being asked in, it's not a token gesture for Wexford County team. You could be asked to go up and train with your club senior team, and it's thanks very much. We're kind of stuck for numbers. There's no one stuck for numbers in
Mm.
intercounty jobs, and I think I was probably just taught like some great coaches as well. I remember Roy McCarthy in school. He at the time he was saying like, if you get a chance here, go and just have a cut, like just have a go and see, test yourself. And probably a big thing for me over with a lot of kind of stuff around mentality has been boxing. And when I was younger, boxing, it was either do or die. Like, you've either done the work or you haven't, and you find out pretty quick. And if you're stuck in a ring there and you haven't done your fitness work, you're in trouble. And that's just it. You just lose. Like, you don't win, and that's just the way it is. You haven't done your technical stuff. So I suppose I just backed myself. I felt like I'm there on merit, and just go have a cut. And look, obviously there's a lot of things that have to fall into place for you as well. Drop of a ball and stuff like that. But if you're going in with that mentality, more often than not, stuff happens your way. And there probably has been times where, as you said, you're kind of maybe overthinking then things a few years later. Or
Mm.
you're not kind of going that much more off the cuff than what you would have been. And you know, I kind of probably gone full circle again, where especially with the last year, you kind of just let these things happen. If you've done your work, stuff will happen for you. And yeah, it's a funny one because you just have to back. Number one, you have to trust you've been called in for a reason, and then you have to back what got you there. And if you don't do that, or you go in and try change your game, then you weren't brought in for that reason. You were brought in for what you do. And if it was good enough, it was good enough.
Yeah, it's funny. I remember Aidan O'Shea talking maybe during the summer as well, something similar where every player will go that full circle in terms of you get to a point in your career after a few years and you're taking it so seriously and you're nailing everything, every part of your prep and all that. But sometimes it can kind of take away from the performance of actually going out and playing with freedom and the enjoyment factor as well. So, was there any was there any one year or one sort of moment or game that you realized I need to enjoy this a bit more, or I need to not be so on top of everything and just focus on playing with flow and that kind of thing? Was there a period in your career that you remember where you got to that stage, or was that just a natural progression as well that you came back around to just enjoying it again?
Yeah, I think I look at your. I often find like with players in general, hurling for any sport really, if you kind of do like you break on, right. So you break on, you get a you get a good run there for like my circumstance. You get a good run. You start off kind of like house on fire, but it's not never ever lasts. Like, as in you're never going to explode every single day you go out, like. Um, and the quicker you realize that, uh, the better it will be. And that's what I always say to young lads now. Like, the quicker you realize that you're not going to get, you might be scoring 312 every single game when you're under 12, but you're not going to. It's not
Yeah.
going to when you're minor. And so the quicker you realize that, the better you'll be, and the more consistent you'll be probably then as well. And I suppose just when you do that, then you're trying to figure out how am I getting better? How am I getting better? How can I improve this? How can I get quicker? How can I get in better shape? How can I get stronger? Whereas the actual basics of hurling, you don't neglect them, but you certainly don't think about them as often. You're trying to think about all your negatives and all your things that you need to work on, rather than stuff that you're absolutely really really good at and what got you there
Mm.
in the first place. So that's what I probably done. You might even try to change your game, even though you don't need to. You can just, you can improve other parts without changing your game. So, um, yeah. So again, you probably come full circle then at the latter end of your career because one, you know that there's more days behind you than there is in front of you, and you know it's not going to last forever. And yeah, so that's really it. That's probably why I think a lot of players come full circle and they probably have a good, really good back end of their career, um, because they come to that realization. So yeah.
Hmm. And one thing you might say with some players, even in different sports, when they break through early, say, and they're playing at the top level of the sport, when they're still 17, 18, that once they get to their early 30s, they sort of burn out and fade a bit. Has that ever been something that you've been conscious of, or have you ever felt burnt out during your career? Do you feel like things have been managed well enough that you're actually able to continue your career for another good few years? Because just looking at you on the pitch, you wouldn't really see um, you wouldn't look at you and say that you're over the hill or anything like that. Like, you still are in your prime. I'd say you'd agree with that. So, like, have you been conscious of that kind of thing, not overloading yourself too much, because you came on the scene so young, and you would play a lot of hurling at a very high level in your late teens?
Yeah, like I think as well, like there's a couple of things to that. Probably your performance levels obviously is number one. Then your fitness levels with injuries and stuff like that. I've probably been blessed that I haven't had a major injury up until probably this year, and still thankfully I got for a full championship basically. So like a lot of things play a factor on the latter end of your career. Are all injuries popping back up? Are your performances dipping? Are have you lost a yard? Are you doing stuff that you probably haven't done before? You know, I just look. I take it year by year now at this stage. That's the way I see it. Take it year by year, and I suppose the big thing for me is a fire of the belly, to go back again. And for large parts of last winter, I thought it wasn't, to be honest with you.
Mm.
Just simply, and then I had to distinguish. Right, is this because of an injury that I'm thinking of all these things? Can I even go back? Am I over the hill? Am I done? Am I finished? Am I able to get back? Am I able to get back to where I want to be at? And then I suppose once you start to become pain free and you start to kind of get these little rewards for the stuff you're doing and the rehab you're doing, you kind of think, okay, no, the fire is still there to get back. So then once you do get back, then you just go again, go at it again. So there's a lot of different factors probably to how you feel at different times in your career. But no, I never really kind of had it in my head that for definite the fire is gone, finished, that
Mm.
kind of way. It's but I certainly probably said it enough times at the back end of last year, just simply because I was so much bother with the back. But yeah, no, the fire's always there and has been. So until that's gone, sure we'll assess it then.
I want to talk about your club a bit as well, because I think the journey you've been on as a group, I was just looking back through there. So you would have played in 2012 when you won the intermediate A in Wexford, and then 2015 you win the intermediate, and then you go on and win senior county titles last year. And was it 2018 when you won your first one?
Yeah,
Yeah. So
so it was my first year playing adult. We just been relegated. Went to the relegation final 2011, and it was a dark old day. And I suppose like I was doing the water. You're kind of just trying to get involved in everything you can, and it was all hands on deck that day. I'll never forget. I think we were beaten by a point. A typical relegation final. And it was kind of a thing of right. We've a few lads coming through now, young lads, and straight in 2012, bang, corner back, corner forward. Say, I remember Owen Conroy just had come up maybe that year previous, and you're going to get us back up. And slowly but surely, we had a few more younger lads coming through, but we won in 2012, straight back up, and we actually got to the intermediate final then in 2013. Um, Straight up and into a final, which probably for the club it was a great thing that we didn't win it, just for the development of we were nowhere near a senior hurling team, and we probably just were on the roll, and we were just rolling, as I said, rolling with the punches, and
mm,
got us to a final. We were beaten by Buffers Alley, who had absolutely cleaned us out in the first round of that intermediate championship, and it was a serious welcome back to intermediate, and we actually met them in that final then, and we could have actually beaten them, but look, at we needed to develop and bring a few more younger lads through, and we did that then, and that was kind of the start then of the group that's here. So we Gary Malloy came on and came in on that team then for 2015, which we which we won intermediate then, and it's just snowballed kind of from there. Then and we've had a good few young lads involved in Wexford teams, 20s teams, and all that kind of stuff. So look at sure the pinnacle of it all was 2018. To see all the 10 years work or whatever from. We probably had not a good crew of them older lads, nearly at the end, and they couldn't believe where we've came. Um,
Mm.
so that was really, really special to be able to share that with them. And it was our first ever county senior hurling final. And to win it was obviously unbelievable. It was special. I'm actually getting goosebumps here now thinking about it. But yeah, and it's I suppose once you win one, the expectation is how many you want to win, and they don't come around that easy. I tell you that. In Wexford, I think it was the 5 years afterwards, 5 different winners. So till we won it again. So it was it was hard to do, and it's going to be hard again. We're hitting the quarterfinal stage here now, and it's as hard as it ever was to even get a score, never mind a win. So,
Mm.
but yeah, it's been a whirlwind. Our town is kind of growing at a rapid rate. It's in a great place. Hurling, football, camogie. We're up senior football now this year as well, and in a quarterfinal this weekend, and there's a good crew of lads there. The club is in a good place. A lot of good people around the club, and it's as I said, when you're finished up at Wexford, it's where you go back to. But every year when we finish with Wexford, it's just a really, really good environment to be in. And I know everyone says that their best friends are in it, but they're literally you know where to go if they're looking for best friends, in of mine anyway. And they're mostly all in that dressing room, really.
Mm. I know last year would have been a great day for you, like being captain and scoring 1-4 in the final. But 2018, if can you just go back to the feeling at the final whistle? Like I'd say to win the club's first ever senior county title, when the final whistle goes and you've everyone running onto the pitch and just the sort of excitement and emotion everyone's shown. Do you still have an image in your head of what it was like when that whistle went?
Yeah, so it was just absolute bedlam there for I'd say 15 minutes. Just literally, you kind of don't know where you are. You don't know where you can hear anyone. It's just crazy. The town really got in on us there, and because it was our first, and we were playing the Martins, who've been in a couple of finals the last previous years. It was like every neutral was nearly shouting for us as well, which is it was obviously great on the day. Um, it certainly felt like that anyway, but yeah, last year was a little bit different. I think everyone's probably shouting for a gate. No one wants to see you win a couple, by your own. So, it just felt like a magical day. It was a magical couple of days. And because we've never experienced it before, and no one in the club had, there was older people there, and they're bawling, crying. We're marching down the town for the first time. In ever like October. It just no one really knew what to do, like, because we were never in the position before, and no one belonging to us knew because they were never in the position. So it was just crazy. It was just absolutely nuts there for a couple of days, but just real joy and real, to see like older people, who've been through the worst of times in the club, people who founded the club, just they were the kind of really special moments you have. It was really, really emotional time as well. And I suppose last year then as well was probably like really emotional on a personal point of view as well. Just to obviously captain the team was a huge honor. Um, and yeah, it was just crazy. Just two unbelievable days, two probably different days. Um, you know, like, because we've obviously experienced it before, but it was just nice. I felt like the group that we had probably needed to win another one to just for ourselves, just to really kind of, I suppose, enjoy it as that group, because there's a lot of young lads after coming in as well. So let's try to get them to
Mm.
experience it. Actually, my mother as well broke her two ankles the day before the county final last year.
No
So
way.
that was a mad 24 hours now. Yeah, or two ankles. So it was
What
a
was she
mad.
doing?
Nothing, nothing. She was actually went to the shop to get me a big bottle of water. And it came down, and the bottle kind of just fell out of her hand. She went to go catch it down our driveway and rolled one ankle, tried to save herself, and rolled the other. Two ankles broke. So she didn't even get to see the final. So it was well, she seen it, but it was remotely, which was completely foreign to her as well. So yeah, that was a crazy, crazy story. I actually brought the baby up that night as well. I was bringing her up so my mum could mind her for the night and get a good night's sleep. Anyway, she,
Okay.
she was in beside me for the
Yeah,
night before the county final. But look, it worked out. It worked out.
that's a lot of
Probably
stress to be
took my
dealing with
mind off.
before. Yeah, just like the last one, your mindset changes then when you're a club and you're not the champions and you have all the hunger and everything, but then when you're on the top and you're the one that everyone else is trying to take down, how is it? Because you do have to, you're still obviously motivated, but is it different then when you're going for back to back? Is it kind of a different feeling in the group? And is it hard, or is it easy to motivate yourselves then to actually go again and to do something that you've never done before as a club this year?
Yeah, it's not really difficult to like. Obviously, everyone wants to win their county title. Like, so, you know, it is different. Absolutely, it's different because you know everyone is has the target on your back, and you want to take you down, and every team wants to be that team. So obviously there is different feelings to it. Like, but I suppose when you are in that position, you really just have to focus on what you're doing and not kind of worrying what everyone else is doing. And I suppose, like, when you're not in that position, that's exactly what you do. So you just think about, right, how are we going to get the most out of ourselves to beat the other team? Like, so it's trying to make sure that you keep that focus, like, keep that drive, that, like, we're focused on ourselves, on how we're going to win the game and beat the other team, and try to find that edge that that might have got you over the line. Um, but again, it's based on what you want to achieve as a group, and if
Mm,
that outweighs everything, then you're going to put your best foot forward. So there's certainly, I'll put it this way, it won't be for the lack of trying now, or the lack of want for to try do back to back. I hate even saying that, but
mm.
it's definitely certainly something that everyone in our dressing room wants to do anyway. But I know too well as well that it's something that every other team don't want. So no, it'd be interesting. It's very, very competitive down in Wexford. Really, like, as I said, there was what, 5 winners in 6 years. Different winners in 6 years. It's been hectic. And you just if you're off, you're gone. Simple as that. That's the way it is. If you're off on any given day, you're just going to be pipped, and um, yeah, you're stuck looking at games then for the remainder of the
Mm.
season, which is not ideal.
No, there's nothing worse. Connor, look, you've been brilliant with your time. So we'll wrap it up there. But thanks
No
very much
problem.
for joining us, and best of luck with how the rest of the season goes. Hopefully, you'll win a bit of silverware.
Hopefully. Thanks very much.